Hello, I'm going to be showing you how to create and use rubrics in Canvas. Rubrics are a great way to manage student expectations as well as show them how their grade was assessed. So if you already use rubrics, Canvas allows you to do it electronically and will even assign the grade for you based on how you assess the rubric. So I'm going to show you how to create it, how to grade an assignment with it, and what the student sees after you've graded it. So I'm going to go to assignments. I have an assignment that is already created, and of course you can create your rubric as you're creating your assignment, but for the sake of time, I already have a sample assignment created, term paper of destiny, so the student has to write a paper. And if you look down here, there is a plus rubric button. So I'm going to press that button, and this is where I create my rubric. The first column is where the criteria is listed, and this next column is where all of the different ratings are, so the different markings that a student will get based on how well they meet the criteria. So for the sake of this tutorial, I found a sample rubric, and this is just an example, so your rubric might be completely different and it might not be the way you do your rubric, so this is simply for the sake of an example. So let's say that I'm just going to copy and paste what's in here. You can manually type it in, or you can use a paper version of a rubric you already have, copy and paste. So I'm just going to copy and paste for the sake of an example. So let's say I want my first criterion to be integration of knowledge. So I'm going to come over here, and there is a placeholder that is already set for me. So this plus button right here is where I'm going to put the description of my criterion. So I'm just going to paste it in there. So my first criterion is integration of knowledge. Now I can break this down as little or as much as I want. It starts off with 2, where the student gets full marks or no marks. My sample rubric has 4. I think I'm going to just use 3. Okay, so I'm going to do expert, proficient, and novice. I'm going to do those 3. So I'm going to copy the criterion for expert. Come over here. Now this one only has 2, but if you press this plus button, you can add as many as you want. So you can add more. So for the first one, your first one is going to be the highest mark that a student can earn. And I'm going to make this worth 25 points. The paper is worth 75. I'm going to use 3 different criterion of 25 points each. So the first one will be 25. And I'm going to paste in here the criterion for how they can get 25 points if they demonstrate they fully understand the concepts. Okay, now I'm going to go to my next level, which will be proficient. I'm going to copy and paste that so they kind of understand the concepts. And I want there to be a middle one, so I'm going to hit this plus button. And maybe I want to make this worth 15 points. So if the student demonstrates some understanding of the knowledge, they will get 15 points. For the most part, they get it. Now maybe I'm going to do this novice level for the last one. So I'm going to copy that. And in this last column, I'll place that here. Now by default it has 0 points. You can leave it at that if you want to make it so that if a student doesn't understand a concept, they don't get any credit for this section. I'm just going to go ahead and give them 5 points so they'll at least get something. So this is going to be completely customized based on how you do your rubrics. So as you can see, total points down here is 25 and I have 50 points to go. So I'm going to add my next criterion. I'm going to click this plus criterion button. I'm going to check it. And it likes to jump up for some reason. So I'm going to scroll back down. And there's new criterion and duplicate. So I can duplicate the one I just created, but I'm going to do a new criterion. Okay, coming back to my sample rubric, I want topic focus to be the next criterion for my term paper. So I'm going to put topic focus in there. So that's the next one. And I'm going to use my first one. The topic is narrow enough, so I'm going to paste that in there. And I'm going to make this worth 25 points. Okay, so if the student has a narrowly focused topic and they have a good thesis statement, they'll get 25 points. So then I'll do my next level. If their topic is focused but lacks direction, I'll do that in the middle. So this plus button, I'll put that in there. And I want this to be 15 points. Okay. Now, I might just want to leave it at this. I might not want to have a third one. You can do that. You don't have to do 3 for all of them. You can have some that are 3, some that are 4, some that are 5, and some that are 2. You can customize it however you like. One thing I do want to note, though, is the Canvas does not allow you to reorder your criteria. So if I decided that I want topic focus to be first, I would have to come in and manually change each of these. Unfortunately, there is not yet a way to drag and drop these. So you kind of need to know what order you want your criteria to be before you get started on this. Okay, so I'm going to continue to stick with my 3 different levels. So I'm going to do my last one. The topic is not clearly defined, and I'll put that here. Now, I might decide that if the topic is not clearly defined, the student's not going to get any points. So I'm going to leave that at 0 on here. Okay, so this one you can have points all the way across, and I might decide to let this one be 0, so it's however you want to do it. So now I'm at 50 points because full marks for this one is 25, full marks for this one is 25. So I'm going to add one more. And our last one is going to be depth of discussion. Okay, so I'm going to add another criterion, plus criterion. I'm going to scroll back down, new criterion. So now my total points are 75, and you want to make sure that your total points here match your total points here. So this is my rubric. This is how I'm going to be grading the paper for the students. So what I'm going to do now is come down here to this section where you have these check boxes. Now, some of these features are a little more advanced. The only box that I recommend you check is the one that says use this rubric for assignment grading. And what that'll do is as you're grading assignments and you are assessing the rubric, when you're finished, it'll go ahead and put the grade in for you. So you don't have to manually go back in and put the grade in. Now, some people opt not to do that, but it'll make it easier if you tell it to go ahead and assign the grade. Now, what happens if this number does not match this number, it's going to throw a flag and ask you, do you want to change these points to match the rubric? So it's not going to let you have them mismatch. It'll let you know. Okay, so I'm checking that I do want to use the rubric for assignment grading. And I'm going to give my rubric a title. I'm going to call it Ice Cream Rubric. Okay. And now I am going to create. And now it's there. So I'm going to show you a student view. I have a sample student version of Canvas, and so you can see what the student sees. When they click on it from their perspective, they click on the assignment. Now they can see what the rubric is. So they know if they want to get all 25 points, they're going to have to fully demonstrate they understand the concepts, have a narrowly focused topic, and elaborate on all sections of the paper. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, as a student, I'm going to submit the assignment so that I can switch back into teacher mode and go in and grade the assignment so you can see what it looks like to grade it. So I'm going to upload the paper here, and it might take a little bit of time based on my internet connection, so kind of bear with me just a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to submit the assignment, and I'm doing this in student mode. So now the student has submitted the assignment. So now I'm going to go back to teacher mode, and I'm going to go to my home screen, and it's going to tell me that a student has submitted their term paper. So now I'm going to show you how to grade the paper using your rubric. So I'm going to click on it, and it will take me to Speed Grader. And I will be able to see that April O'Neill submitted her paper. And here it is. I can see the paper. So I'm going to slide this over just a little bit so I have some more room. So as I'm going through, this button here says View Rubric. So I'm going to click on it. And I'm gonna move this over just a little bit more. My screen's kind of small. So let's say, for instance, that she kind of understood the concepts, but she didn't fully understand them. So instead of 25 points, I'm going to give her 15. So I'll click there. So it's assigned her 15 points. Maybe she had a very narrow topic, so I'll click there. And maybe she did not discuss all of the sections of her paper, so I'm going to click there. So she has 45 out of 75 points based on how I assess the rubric. So when I hit save, it automatically puts that 45 in there. Now, if I want to make some changes, like if I want to, curve her grade by 2 or 3 points or however, I can go in there and manually change that, but it will assign it for you. So what does the student see? I'm going to come back over here to the student version. I'm going to click home. And it shows that the paper has been graded. So this is what the student sees when you grade using the rubric. So they'll come up here to where it says show rubric, and they'll click on it so the student can see that they received 15 points because this part here is covered. She can also see that she received 25 points for her topic focus, and she can see that she received 5 points for her depth of discussion. So that is how she can see where her 45 points came from. So that is the student view. Now, one thing that's really cool is once you create a rubric, you can use it in multiple assignments. So I'm going to go back and create another assignment. Let's say I already have a rubric created and I want to use it for another assignment. You are able to do that, and I'll show you how. So I'm going to go to another existing assignment. Let's just take this one, for instance, this Chapter 1 assignment, just as an example. And I'm going to scroll down. This one actually already has a rubric, so I'm going to delete it just so that I can show you how you can add an existing one. So I'm going to add the rubric that we just created. Right up here it says find a rubric. So instead of creating a new one, we're going to use an existing one. And this screen over here is going to vary depending on how many rubrics you already have. Clearly I have a lot of them. But the rubric that I'm looking for is the ice cream rubric. That's the one that I just created. And I'm going to say click this rubric, use this rubric, and there it is. It's already there. So I don't have to create a new one from scratch. And you can even do this for different classes. So I'm going to go to a different class, an assignment in a different class, and I can use my rubric in different classes. So I'll click Assignments. And let's say this Module 1 assignment. I'm going to add the rubric, one that's already created, find. And this is my original class, so I'm going to scroll down here. There it is. Now all of my courses that have rubrics are going to be listed here, so you can always scroll through and find old rubrics from previous classes. So I'm going to click Ice Cream Rubric, scroll down so I can sample it, preview it, and click Use this rubric, and there it is. Now, one thing to note is once you have assigned rubrics to all of your assignments and you've graded them, if you go in to try to make changes, it won't let you change it if you've already used it to assess other assignments, and that's to prevent you from changing grades on assignments you've already assessed. What it will do if I want to make a change is it'll simply create a new rubric for you, so you kind of have to keep an eye on that. So you can use the same rubric for multiple assignments, multiple projects, but once you put a rubric to an assignment, it's not going to let you change it so that you don't accidentally reassess some grades. If you absolutely wanted to make a change, you'd have to go in and remove the rubric from all the assignments, make your change, and then put it back. You can do it that way, but other than that, it'll just keep recreating them for you. So that is how you use and assess rubrics. I think it's a great tool, and I hope that you'll be able to use it.